All right, guys, welcome back to Discovering Eden. My name is Brandon.
I'm Jonathan.
I'm Marty.
And if you may or may not have noticed, I may have forgotten my GoPro, so the auto quality has dipped again. So welcome back to how it originally looked.
It's good to throw back every once in a
Yeah,
while.
it's a throwback.
It's a retro episode.
Retro. We're going way back, too, with some of these myths. So, hey. Maybe not to our friend Mushy, but from before, Mushushu. So not quite far back as that, but anyway.
A little ways.
But I'll get into the prayer, and then we can get into some of the myths like Fafnir and Ouroboros, Jormungandr, all those kind of things. So let's pray, and we'll get into it. Great, dear God, I thank you that we're able to just talk about some of these things that we nerd out about, like dragons, for example, and other creatures that you may have created. And just to talk about some of these things that we learn or have learned over the course of our lives or video games, for example, and just the different myths that are around, and some of the ingenuity, creation, all that kind of stuff that comes with it. And then above all, Lord, that you would shine through our conversation, that you would be able to be a part of this conversation and be able to share your little nuggets of wisdom as we kind of talk about different things in the world surrounding dragons and stuff like that, in different mythologies. But yeah, so I pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so we're going to go into the bumper, and then I think we'll get right into Fafnir. So let's do it. All right, so we are back. So we're going to be covering Western mythology and dragons. So typically, when you think of that, you think of like your typical dragon. You got wings. It's usually scaly, 4 legs, sometimes 2, sometimes none. Maybe doesn't have wings. It's varied, but often you get this guy who's he wants to talk this episode. That's your typical dragon. It's got like bat-like wings, scaly, breathes fire often.
Yep.
That's your typical depiction of a Western dragon.
Yeah.
Now, what are some of the other dragons that, kind of shape what we think of it or have thought of it, growing up?
I mean, it's definitely that style. I think about, 90s movies, Dragonheart, stuff like that. All of those kind of legends where, okay, the dragon's coming along and gonna, attack the village or whatever, is hoarding this treasure, and, the hero's gonna go out and save the princess that the dragon kidnapped. Why a dragon would kidnap a princess, I never understood that, but whatever.
They got tastes.
Yeah, that's another issue. But, it's all that kind of mythos or legends and kind of stuff. And then, of course, video games, because, they're all that style.
Yep. Yeah, video games were the big one, but then also looking back at like what was The Hobbit was like the book of my childhood, so you've got Smaug, who is obviously the big bad of that story, and again, very what you were saying. Oh, he's gonna go and hoard this bunch of treasure and, be a grumpy jerk about it. But
Yeah, like for me, also, video games, I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory with all of ours here. We're all video game players, do all that kind of stuff. So you have Final Fantasy, you have Dragon Quest,
Try the name.
and just different iterations of some of these things. And then obviously you also have things such as The Hobbit, There and Back Again, with Smaug. And we'll see the similarities with that and Fafnir, as we'll get to Fafnir next. But also in different shows like, say, Dragon Tales. One of my childhood favorites, maybe because, well, dragons, dinosaurs, whatever you name. Just like I like Land Before Time. Same premise.
Yep.
Same premise. Because they cool.
That's all you need.
And little me is like, that's cool. I like it. Also, that's also the reason I like Barney. Because it was a purple dinosaur. Now, looking back at it, do I like Barney? Well, not particularly. I didn't care about the
Don't lie,
whole
Brandon.
friendship thing. I only cared about, like I liked, I don't even remember the yellow one's name. But it was a Triceratops, and I like, or whatever. I think it was a I don't even remember anymore. I'm saying these off the cuff, so there you go. That's the kind of stuff I liked. I like Dragon Tales much more but it was only on for so long. It was kind of disappointing.
Yeah. And I completely missed that era. I mean, I'm a little
Well,
older.
you are a little older, yeah.
My kids did watch it a little bit, but
Yeah, it was fading out during our time at least. Or at least my time. Well, no, mine was pretty good.
It was still, I mean, only a couple years younger than you, but it was still, I would watch it during kindergarten, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, because then I also watched Pokemon on top of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Similar reasons.
Yeah.
Cool monsters.
It's cool.
plenty of dragons there.
Yeah.
Ish.
They didn't call them dragons, but yeah, I mean, you have your lizards and stuff like that. Close enough. They breathe fire, right?
Yeah, but Charizard's not a dragon.
Surely. Yeah, Charizard's a dragon in every sense of the word, except
the
it's
type.
not a dragon type.
Sort of flip a table, right?
It literally looks pretty much identical to any dragon that we see in Western mythology,
Yep.
including breathing fire. No, not a dragon, just a fire flying type. Yep, nope.
Yeah.
That's a disgrace. But anywho, let's get into Fafnir, because especially tying back to Smaug and The Hobbit, one of some of Tolkien's inspirations for a lot of his stuff came from Norse and Germanic roots for that kind of mythology. So he took a lot of things from Beowulf. He took a lot of things from the Volsung, that kind of thing.
Yep.
So Fafnir. When we first think of Fafnir, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
I'm pretty sure I killed him in God of War.
Same.
And that's
the name sounds familiar. Like I've heard it before in like discussions of Norse myth, but I don't know a ton of.
Yeah.
And
Norse
I
mythology.
think, the reason I bring this up is because a lot of what I feel like a lot of us know about dragons are from reinterpretations
Oh yeah,
of these myths.
another one. Fafnir was definitely a summon in Persona 5. It was. I remember that clearly.
So
But it might have been more humanoid in that iteration.
that's why, like, some of the myths and things that we think of, like, look at Marvel, for example. They're way out of proportion from what the original myth was, but it's its own universe. They kind of take their creative liberties with it.
Yeah, I mean, they're combining so many different mythologies together anyway.
And the same can be said of, like, anime and manga, where, again, a lot of these inspirations for these different things come from mythologies, and you see them intertwined within it. Is it the same thing? No, absolutely not. They take inspiration from it. Just like Smaug, for example, or Smaug, is taking inspiration from Fafnir, but is inherently different.
Mhm.
So a lot of the interpretations that we make kind of morphed it into what we see here with this is your stereotypical dragon.
Yeah.
Which is still cool, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. That's kind of the beauty of mythology in general, is the interpretation. So much of it is open to interpretation, and then just that creative license, if you will.
So, for the sake of could these creatures still have existed, is it going to be the way that we see it interpreted now? No. I don't think it. You're not going to see this flying around as your dragon, like from an actual animal standpoint. I don't think that's realistic. It would be cool if that was the case, but I don't think it's realistic if it looked exactly like this. Personally, I do think dragons existed, just not the way that we know them as now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just put that out there as a disclaimer.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't hate it if they existed like this, because instant cool upgrade. Funny thing that I found out while researching Fafnir itself is that the red dragon in Dungeons and Dragons is based off of Fafnir.
That makes sense.
So, well, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
The basis of a lot of these things, like, guards treasure, hoards it,
Yep.
lizard, wings, scaly, breathes fire, typically aggressive and wants to kill you.
Yeah.
Dragon. So, obviously, when we think of Fafnir, God of War, and I think that's the same thing for Jormungandr and some of these other things as well. God of War series, they like their Norse mythology as they entered into that. I mean, obviously, they had Greek and Roman.
Yep.
And then they transitioned into Norse, and I very much liked it.
Oh, it was great.
I never played the game, but I watched people play through it, and it was great. But that's getting away from the point. So I'm actually going to bring up my trusty old phone so I can at least talk or figure out what to talk about for Fafnir.
Should we talk about how he's actually a dwarf?
Yeah, that'd probably
That
be
was-
a good starting point.
That was weird. Wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, so take that, God of War. Fafnir's actually a dwarf who can morph.
Sindri might have something to say about that.
Yeah, like upon researching dwarves, even in Norse mythology, they could shapeshift into pretty much anything. So when you think of they're people of the earth, so you think of they're made from the earth, and yet they can be molded just like the clay into whatever you can think of on the earth, which is kind of crazy. And why they're part of these creation, whatever stories and narratives. So really fascinating. Definitely didn't think that Fafnir was a dwarf when I was thinking of Fafnir, because oh yeah, Fafnir, inspiration for Smaug, clearly a dragon, right? Never was picturing Doc or Sneezy or anything like that. Imagine them turning into a dragon. Well, that's it's Maleficent. What? Does that mean she was a dwarf too? No, but interesting. So Fafnir is from the Volsung, so that saga. And then that's where you get Siegfried, which kills Fafnir. Basically, there's a lot of, Fafnir's, brother or father was killed, so then revenge was wanted. They demanded gold to have back. And then they wanted to hoard the gold with a ring that transformed Fafnir into a dragon, all that kind of stuff. And then Siegfried's like, bye bye.
Yeah.
Takes out Fafnir. Then Siegfried was told, hey, grill this thing's heart and feed it to me. He touched it. He's, it hurts. So he licks it. And then, I can hear the birds now. And then Fang figures out, he's trying to kill me. So he murks him and then leaves off with the treasure. Classic mythology right there. But it's interesting where the one thing I found interesting about that is, so Sigurd or Siegfried or whatever you want to call him, I've seen it both ways. So he burns his thumb. So he sucks his thumb because, he burns it from the dragon's heart. But it's the fact that he can understand birds. And if we're going back to kind of the dinosaur dragon discussion we had last week, well, birds are thought to be, the quote unquote descendants of dinosaurs, right? So the fact that you can understand birds, it's just an interesting. Now, I think it's just coincidental here,
Right.
but it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's just something to throw out there. I think it's coincidental, just like I said before, but who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe they knew more than we thought. Or maybe they made it up. Let me eat a heart of something and be able to understand words of animals. Tell me when you can do that. Maybe then we'll talk. So yeah, that's Fafnir. So that's, I think, what most people would think of as stereotypically a dragon. So that's where you get this image of 4 legs, 2 wings, dragon, spits fire, yada yada yada. Now, something that I found interesting is initially in the West, dragons were not depicted as spitting fire. It was poison.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
So, which to me makes more sense because you don't really see in nature things spitting fire.
Right.
Name one creature that does.
Dragon.
Yeah.
I see.
You didn't say what nature.
And especially when we look at different lizard species, specifically like monitor lizards, they're poisonous. They have poisonous fangs, different things. Maybe it's not a noxious fume they give off, but it's poison oriented. It has that attribute of poison.
Yeah.
And that's something that also sticks with dragons, especially when, like in Greek mythology with Hydra, or even some of the things in Norse, it's more poison oriented. And later in like the Middle Ages, medieval times, transitioned into fire after Roman occupation, different things like that. Which is interesting.
Yeah.
So Catholicism turned it into fire. Why? Because of the association of it with the devil.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I was going to actually, my follow-up question was going to be, when did that switch happen? You just answered the question.
So, dragons breathing fire. Is it fact or fiction? Well, it's more the fiction aspect here. They didn't breathe fire. But it is interesting because you do, even in the Bible, hear of a creature in the book of Job that breathes fire.
Mm-hmm.
And this is way before the other, which is interesting. But then you consider, okay, is it actually breathing fire, or is that feeling like fire because your hand's burning because of acid?
Right.
I don't.
Yeah.
You
We'll
don't
never know.
Because there's plenty of things that spit out acid, like in the animal kingdom. There's nothing we know that spits fire. The closest you can get is maybe the bombardier beetle, but that's not fire. It's just a chemical reaction.
Right.
That's really, really hot.
Yeah.
So I found that interesting as I was researching, just figuring out, oh, it's poison. And that's what it originated for, at least in the Western sphere. Eastern is entirely different.
Yeah.
As we'll get to later. Not this episode, but next episode. Yeah, so I didn't realize that fire was not attributed to them at first, but as I looked it up, makes sense.
It's fascinating.
And it's like, to me, it makes it more realistic that dragons could have existed because the fire aspect's already out the window because it's initially poison. Well, we already know poison exists in the animal kingdom. Lots of things have it, including serpents, for example, lizards. Basically, anything that looks like that is more than likely poisonous. Except I haven't heard of any birds being poisonous. Biting. The terror bird. What if the terror bird was poisonous? Like had a poisonous bite. That would be terrifying.
It would be.
Would be terrifying. But yeah. So that's one of the things that stuck out to me when I researched. Anything stick out to you for at least for Fafnir? I know I kind of went off tangent a little bit.
Yeah, no, just like I said, the whole he was a dwarf thing, and the whole transformation didn't see that coming.
Yeah, definitely bizarre.
He had that whole Sailor Moon transfer.
Yeah.
Somebody make a thing of that. Just a dwarf just doing the Sailor Moon. Like all the little thing and then dragon.
Never gonna see Fafnir the same again.
Fafnir, he's actually a magical girl.
Now I'm just going back to Dragon Quest and imagining the Dragon Lord doing that kind of transformation.
Don't do that in D&D next. So you come into a room, a dungeon, like the final dungeon room. You see a little kid, and they're like, "Oh crap!" Gets a dragon stone, and then transforms. Does that? I'm here. Cough, cough. Sneak back out the door, close the door, walk away. Wait! Come back! I was just trying to be cool. His Chuni mode activated. Anyway, I'm getting way off tangent. You can tell that the planning on this episode has been a little chaotic. I haven't had much time to research because I'm doing other things, so that's fun. But anyway, let's go to a different Norse myth in Jormungandr, or the Midgard serpent. Another interesting there. Son of Loki, so big snake-like thing, serpent, because it has no wings. Doesn't have feet, or maybe it does have feet. I'm not entirely sure. Because some of them are depicted with feet and some aren't.
Yeah.
So.
How
do you pronounce the name?
Jormungandr? Yeah.
Yeah, whatever that is. You mean that has been depicted with feet? Because
yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like
interesting.
In one of the pictures I found out in I'm
just mad because I've only just imagined it as like a serpent.
Yeah.
But then just like four little feet, just like
for,
like a wiggler,
especially for the world serpent.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
just dangling there. Just circle shaped off.
I don't know. So, like there was a depiction of it with like four legs, which is just odd considering it's the world serpent. It bites its own tail. That's where you get the Ouroboros. But the only fact that when I think Ouroboros, I mean, I obviously think of like the infinity sign, like it's depicted. But now with with how it's depicted in Xenoblade 3. Now I think of Ouroboros in a different way, and that's completely different. Because then they fuse together and make. Anyway, that's not the same thing. Clearly not. But yeah, Jormungandr. Like the family dynamics of some things in Norse mythology. I mean, even the dwarfs. I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. But yeah, Loki is the father of Jormungandr. So okay, huh? All right, and his mom's a giant. Okay, his brother or sister or whatever it is Fenrir, a wolf. Okay, and then yeah, it gets bizarre. Would love to be in a family meeting there. Odin didn't like it very much.
Thanksgiving dinner would be nuts at that table.
Yeah, Odin scattered all three of the siblings. Hel went to, well, the underworld, Niflheim. Then Fenrir, you're on an island now. You're on a rock on an island. Congrats. You get to be isolated. Sad dog noises. And then Jormungandr, you can go in the ocean. Have fun swimming.
Yeah, you'll be the herald of the end times.
And then when Jormungandr lets off its bite of its own tail, Ragnarok. That's all thing. Yeah, creation story of Norse stuff is very intriguing.
Oh yeah.
Especially with like some of the stories with like Thor and Jormungandr or whatever, all that. And the like Loki's power or the giant's power of being able to like deceive and trick. It all goes well. Like, let's have a drinking contest and let's have all these other contests, or let's have an eating contest. And somehow that's how the drinking contest is how like the sea level shrank and everything else like happened. Like, all that kind of stuff. So,
Excuse me.
Yep.
Sorry to bother you guys. I was here for service earlier today. I was just at Morley Park. I had a gallon jug of water. Someone stole it. I don't know if you guys had a gallon jug.
no,
Water.
Haven't seen one. Is there anything in the kitchen maybe? Or
I don't know.
let's see if there's anything in there.
Right, so I definitely have to edit this out. So this is fun. I will actually have to edit this video somehow, some way, somehow, or you don't, and then you get to see this awkward pause.
Cue the bumper.
Actually,
I don't know.
bumper. No kidding.
Could you imagine, like, okay, so Jormungandr, he's just sitting there, chewing on his own tail, some fisherman or something goes and sees him and he's just, is it the end times? Am I gonna let go?
I mean, I think that there was like a fishing instance with Jormungandr as well, with Thor casting in like an ox head or something to try to get him to bite or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah, imagine that. It's like, haha, I'm going fishing. What happened to your fishing rod? What fishing rod? I didn't have a fishing rod. What are you talking about? Or you think of like the ancient techniques of, well, they didn't used to use rods. They used to just use a spool of like string and they tie it to their arm. So do that. No, Jerry, no. Jerry got Jerry. It's Jormungandr's nickname is Jerry. He got Jerry, the fisherman. Anyway, never mind. We're just gonna get away from that. Man, we're going way off track. That's great. Let's see what my other things is, so I can maybe sound somewhat smart. Yeah, because this is talking about hydras, the Linernian or Lernian hydra, or the Colchian dragon that's in the Golden Fleece Jason and the Argonauts, stuff like that. That's Greek, which are interesting. Obviously Beowulf has a lot of that kind of stuff in it, which that's the early depiction of like the fire-breathing dragon. And it's the earliest image of a winged dragon with legs. And then, obviously, I guess I shouldn't say obviously, but there's other depictions of like saints defeating dragons that you'll see throughout Europe. One of them is depicted on the Maltese flag. You guys can look it up there with Saint George, different things like that.
Yeah.
Like one of them I found depicted in a book that I have at home is they pictured it as like a Byronyx, which is a dinosaur. You're slaying the dinosaur basically.
Interesting.
So dragon, like this is why it goes back to that dragon dinosaur thing.
Yeah.
To me, they're almost interchangeable. I think they're the same thing personally, because I don't necessarily think of the wings as being an aspect, but I could also see it being an aspect.
Yeah.
But to me, some of the dragons could also be kind of confused with, say, something like a griffin. To me, a griffin and a dragon are very, very similar in the fact that they serve the same kind of purpose. It's just one you think of as more lion-like than lizard-like, or eagle, or whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
And one obviously being a scaly lizard. Now, I that's why it's really interesting and fascinating, because you get all these serpents and stuff like that you see in myths. Now, some of them quite literally are serpents. Like something like Jormungandr, I think of more snake than I do dragon. Whereas, Fafnir, yeah, that's a dragon. That's very clearly a dragon, because that's where the dragon that we know of originated. But then you take a look at Mushushu, which is the dragon we looked at previously, Mushi.
Yeah.
That outdates and predates that. It's serpent-like, but it's not a serpent.
Yeah.
Also, it didn't have wings, but they called it a dragon.
Right.
Which is kind of this interesting middle ground of Eastern and Western depictions of dragons. Whereas, like Eastern, as we'll talk about next week, they fly, they just don't have wings.
Yep.
They typically have shorter legs, but really long, slender bodies. Whereas in the West, they're still serpentine-like. Like, they're still elongated like this, but they have wings to fly.
Yeah, much closer to a lizard.
And they're much closer to lizards. So it's really quite fascinating. And it's also the fact that you see dragons everywhere. It's not just, we see them in this one mythology and that's it. No, it's in the Middle East. It's in Europe. It's in Asia. And arguably, they're also in the Americas with native depictions. You also have Quetzalcoatl, which is Mesoamerica.
Yep.
Again, it's a flying serpent with it's a winged flying serpent. There you go.
Yeah.
That's why to me, like, there definitely could have been winged flying lizards around, but you don't necessarily hear of, Quetzalcoatl breathed fire. No, it's more attributed to the wind.
Yeah.
And then you go to the east and, it's wind and water. And then Europe's like, fire!
Which makes a lot of sense considering what you said earlier about
Yeah.
that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so-
again, I mean, you look at Eastern dragons, and based on limited understanding I have, is they're more benign most times than Western dragons usually are depicted. So, wind and water would.
yeah, and like Eastern dragons are typically looked at in a favorable
Yeah.
mindset. So they're to bring good luck, to fortune,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. Whereas if you run across one in Europe,
You're
you
gone.
you better kill it or you are killed.
Yeah. This seems like a very Western mentality. Kill or be killed. All right. Welcome to the Crusades.
Just look at all the kingdoms and you'll understand.
Yep.
So that's why it takes the depiction it does, and I think why you see Western and Eastern dragons being so different. How much of it is realistic versus how much is attributed to other things? That's where it differs.
Mhm.
I would like to think that, yep, this is what it looked like. Now, animals can also differ from place to place as well.
Yeah.
So there could be regional differences. Say, like in a dinosaur, for example. They're going to be different depending on where they're going to be based on adaptation. Maybe some got smaller, maybe some got bigger, maybe some have wings, maybe some don't. This is where this dinosaur conversation kind of comes into play here.
Mhm.
Obviously, they would be few and far between. You're not going to see a whole bunch because at this point they're dwindling because, well, we don't see them today. And just the environment was not favorable for dinosaurs of what we know of as dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So the last of these big giants that we would be able to see may have been caused due to human interaction. Particularly in Europe, where they're like, haha, we slayed a dragon, woohoo! And they're like, here's its bones, we just preserve it in here, and oh, now the bones are gone. Who knows? I don't know anymore. Yeah, some things are questionable at sometimes, but whatever. I've always had a fascination of the Western dragons because, well, I live in the West.
Yeah.
But I've always also had a fascination with Eastern just because of the sheer difference
Mhm.
of Eastern and Western dragons.
Yeah.
But it's the things like I found out with Mashushu. I just want to keep calling it Mushy. That it's also alongside other existing animals that we know existed, which leads me to believe it actually existed. It has a very real possibility of actually having existed. Because why would one thing be made up and the rest be realistic? To me, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, it has to be based on something.
Mhm.
What that something is debatable. And I think could be in between that dragon and dinosaur kind of depiction. Now, it's specifically called a dragon, which, okay. I mean, we have something called a dragon too. It's called a Komodo dragon.
Yep.
Is it a dragon or is it a lizard?
Why not both?
Well, as you can see from all the various depictions of dragons, why not both indeed?
Yeah.
It has the poison attribute.
Yep.
It looks serpent-like. Monitor lizards are very serpent-like.
Mhm.
It's scaly. Doesn't breathe fire, but has poison, like I said before.
Yeah.
It don't have wings, but, well, dragons didn't necessarily have wings. There you go. There's your modern dragon.
Maybe it's the original dragon.
And it's also your dinosaur. And yeah. Maybe it's just a dino nugget in general. Like we were talking earlier. Anyway. Oh yeah, I wanted to bring this up as well. So with the flag of Wales that we showed last week has the red dragon on it. It's called the red heraldic dragon. and dragons were also very important in like areas of Spain, Barcelona. They have a lot of different statues there that can be found all over Barcelona, according to the site I'm looking at least right now. And even in Poland with the Wawel dragon, which is said to live in a cave beneath a castle. Then they killed it, and then this is where the thought of here's the bones of it, but it was like fossilized bones of like whales or mammoths or whatever. They're like, oh, they're dragon bones. So that's why people got skeptical of some of these other things. So that's why there's some skepticism with some of these interactions of, haha, we slayed a dragon. Where you
Did you know?
Yeah.
where they just find bones. They're like, haha, see, look, dragon remains. Which is interesting. But again, to go back into the depiction of the devil with dragons and fire, with the depiction of the flag of Wales, well, you have your triangle tail depicted of usually in for the devil or imps or different things like that. And you can see that on the flag as a clear representation of some of that. So some of the embodiments of dragons kind of take on that devil, Satan kind of connotation, again cementing it into more of the these are bad, get rid of them.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to link that kind of the similar ways we think of other animals. So, how often do we see, let's say, lions in a positive light?
Narnia.
Besides Narnia.
The Lion of the Tribe of Judah. Jesus.
Yeah.
I feel like almost a better example would be something like a bat
Or a shark.
or a shark or something that is like, yeah, I mean,
Vampires for bats, and then you got sharks.
Jaws.
Jaws. And something that I found out, like, for some of those, why some of those, like, they're really popular, yes, but the reason, like, they're popular also helped contribute to saving the population of the animal that was depicted. So for sharks, great whites were not doing so hot when Jaws was coming out.
Yeah.
And you would think, well, wouldn't that have an adverse effect? Because then it would just terrify them
shark.
even
Right.
more. But then that also got people to think of, oh, hey, those things exist out there. Maybe we should stay away from them. So kind of preserving them in that way.
Yeah.
So there's different... And maybe something similar along the lines came from dragons. But maybe had the opposite effect of something like Jaws, but instead of people being afraid and just fleeing and getting away because it's in the water, and well, if you go in the water and there's a shark and they're hungry and you're not out swimming it. Whereas on land, you might have a little bit more power over, say, something like a dinosaur that can't fly, what they would call a dragon, because dinosaur, again, was not coined until 18 something.
Right.
So again, this dinosaur dragon thing is almost synonymous. So what do? Well, they hunt it down because it's a big scary thing that can hurt you. Why do we not see dinosaurs anymore? Well, because I think we hunted the last of them. And then if you call chickens the descendants, well, we hunt them too.
We just made dino nuggets.
Here's your ancestor. We make it out of you. And we eat it none the same. Or whatever. Yeah. It's crazy. Crazy. Well, do you have any other things to talk about when thinking of dragons in the West?
They're still cool.
They're still cool. Yeah.
They are still cool.
That's the bottom line.
Bottom line,
Dragons are cool.
these things are cool. If they still exist, or if they have existed at any point in the past. Conservation efforts, please. I want to see one. I think it would be cool.
Like Jurassic Park, but maybe worse.
Yeah.
Maybe more dangerous.
Imagine like a Jurassic Park, but with like all mythological
Could be
or
wild.
different legend creatures. So you just see a chimera, you see like all these other things. Now, I don't think chimeras itself existed, but like you see unicorns, you see, let's say Bigfoot, Sasquatch, like all these other like cryptids and stuff. I don't know. It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting.
I mean, the way things are going, and if we're going into Jurassic Park territory and cloning things, and genetic splicing, we might end up with a manicore.
I mean, yeah. And when we came up with ligers,
There you go.
the lion tiger. There's some interesting fusions that just shouldn't happen.
Right.
People are curious, so they just splice them together, and
Yeah.
it's like, it's not. I'm sorry, DNA splicers. It's a Pokemon thing. You don't need to put it into.
Leave it to Game Freak.
Yeah, freak is definitely what it is. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, and even with the quote unquote new dire wolves that they brought back, I don't know. Like, I like the idea of bringing something back, but at the same time, once it's gone, I feel like it shouldn't come back. If it was humanity's mistake in the first place, or nature ran its course,
Right.
I think it's time to go. However sad that may be. AKA the dodo bird.
Yeah.
How did it go extinct? Because humanity thought it was fun. That's quite literally what it was. Oh, they're so stupid, you can just knock them in the head and they're done.
Yeah.
Until we eradicated them, and then it's like, oh, oops.
Yeah.
And then they take on the persona of being really stupid.
Yep.
And that has not changed.
Nope.
I think there's technically efforts to try to bring dodo birds back. But I'm like, but they've been gone for so long now. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
What's it gonna do? Come back and be just as dumb because it does not know anything of the environment.
Right.
Just goes in the water to take a bath or whatever in the ocean, just orca or whatever. Free food. Yeah, I don't know. I think they're also trying to bring like back woolly mammoth.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Yep.
I mean, sure, cool. Where on earth are you getting the space and all these like environments back for them?
Yep. Those things, there's just no environment for them.
Yeah. There's a reason they went extinct. It's called humans. Humans are trying to bring it back, but what's going to cause them to go extinct again? Well, humans.
Yeah, right.
Because, well, natives and places, because you're going to put them on lands that you gave the natives to keep it natural. And, well, they're just going to do what their ancestors did and hunt them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But maybe we can put conservation efforts for like dragons if we can find a live one, different things like that. I don't know. Maybe we're just talking out of our butts, but I mean that's most likely what it is. But anyway, we've been rambling a bit. Maybe this is where we end it. There's a little pause in the like middle of our session here when somebody came to the door because I decided to actually leave the door open this time. Yeah. But anyway, you'll see if it's edited or not. My guess is it's probably not because I still don't really know how to do it with what I have set up. So you're just going to see a nice awkward pause. So enjoy.
This is fun.
It's fine. Everything's fine. Hopefully we'll research a little bit more. It'll be a little bit more organized next week with Eastern Dragons. Especially since I don't really know a whole lot of it off the top of my head. And I feel like that's similar for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Because the only the only depictions of Eastern dragons that I know of are the Zodiac and arguably Avatar: The Last Airbender, but that's a Western animation, but it's based on Eastern. Yeah. Zuko. Prince Zuko. And they do the dance with the dragons. Yeah. Dragons, they cool. But anyway, that'll be it for this video. Thank you for joining in our awkwardness.
Enjoy.
Bye.
See ya.